Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, the first batch of injured Palestinians and foreign nationals leaving Gaza after Qatar brokers a deal between Israel, Egypt and the Hamas. India, 27 other countries taking part in the London Summit on Artificial Intelligence agree on a global effort to boost safety and unlock its benefits. Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh inaugurate a cross-border railway line and 2 other projects. Deadline to leave Pakistan sparks mass exodus of Afghan refugees and migrants. An Indian Prime Minister lauds the country's athletes for their best ever performance at the Asian Para Games. First up, the latest on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. A first group of injured evacuees from Gaza have crossed into Egypt under a Qatari-mediated deal as Israeli forces pressed their battle against the Hamas militants in the Palestinian enclave. The evacuees were driven in ambulances through the Rafah border crossing. Under the deal reached between Egypt, Israel and the Hamas, a number of foreigners and critically wounded people will be allowed to leave the besieged territory. A number of Palestinians holding dual citizenships and critically wounded people set to leave the Gaza Strip under the evacuation deal. The crossing has allowed approximately 500 people holding dual nationalities. Field hospitals have been set up in Egypt's Arish for treating the injured Palestinians. Many Jordanians stuck in Gaza await evacuation, and about 200 people are waiting at the Palestinian side of the border. Now, sources say that this deal, however, is not linked to other issues, such as the release of hostages held by the Hamas and a humanitarian pause in the fighting between Israel and the Hamas, which many countries have requested for. On Wednesday, Israeli airstrikes hit the densely populated Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, killing at least 50 people, and as Israel claims, a Hamas commander as well. Hundreds more were injured. The Israeli military also claimed that 9 of its soldiers have been killed.
There seems to be no end to Israel-Hamas conflict. The civilians on both sides are bearing the brunt of the attack. These are the visuals of crowds outside Gaza's Rafah border crossing on Thursday. An agreement was brokered that would allow the movement of foreign passport holders and some critically injured people into Egypt, reportedly. But this deal is just a breather, as no one knows for how long the Rafah crossing would remain open for evacuation, as mediated by Qatar. Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that Israel's war in Gaza would be long but victorious. He also mourned mounting military losses.
We are in a tough war. It will be a long war. We have had significant achievements, but also painful losses.
On the international side, US President Joe Biden and Jordan's King Abdullah discussed their shared commitment to increasing aid to civilians in Gaza during the Israel-Hamas conflict. Meanwhile, the White House has confirmed the entry of 66 trucks carrying humanitarian assistance into Gaza in the past 24 hours, with expectations of dozens more being cleared for deliveries.
So today I'm pleased to say that another 66 trucks got into Gaza over the last 24 hours with life-saving humanitarian assistance, including food, water, and medicine.
In response to Israel's attack, Bolivia has broken its diplomatic relations with Israel and accused the nation of committing crimes against humanity in its relentless attacks on the Gaza Strip.
Based on its principled stance of respect towards life, Bolivia has decided to break diplomatic relations with the Israeli state in repudiation and condemnation of the aggressive and disproportionate Israeli military offensive taking place in the Gaza Strip, which threatens international peace and security.
Expressing their deep concern, both Chile and Colombia have recalled their ambassadors from Israel. The presidents of these nations have taken to social media to denounce Israel's attack, terming it as unacceptable. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is scheduled to visit Israel on Friday. During his visit, he plans to hold meetings with members of the Israeli government, indicating the United States' engagement in the ongoing situation.
Meanwhile, Japan's new foreign minister is set to begin her first trip to West Asia on Thursday as Israel continues its missile strikes in Gaza. Yoko Kamikawa will visit Israel and Jordan for 4 days ahead of hosting a G7 foreign ministers summit in Japan next week. Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
Well, this is a significant trip for Yoko Kamikawa. It is her first to the Middle East since she became Japan's foreign minister just a month or so ago. It comes as Japan newly offers $10 million in humanitarian aid, emergency relief to the Gaza Strip. And Kamikawa is meant to be meeting with several Palestinian leaders during her trip, her 4-day trip to Israel and Jordan. But it also comes as Tokyo throws its full support behind what it calls Israel's obvious right to defend itself, and throws its complete, as it says, solidarity, alongside Israel. Now, in terms of why this trip is happening and why it is happening now, well, experts are pointing out a mirror trip taken by the Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to Ukraine just before he hosted the G7 Leaders Summit in May. At that time, that summit was meant to be focusing on, or thought to be focusing on, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and political scientists said it was very important for the Prime Minister to actually go to Ukraine before that meeting to show foreign leaders that he cares about the same issues as them, even if it is a long way away from Japan, just in case one day he needs to call on their support for any conflict that may erupt in the Indo-Pacific. The foreign minister is, of course, hosting the G7 foreign ministers meeting here in Tokyo next week, and political scientists are saying that in a mirror kind of way, it is important that she visits the Middle East, that she meets these leaders so she can chair this meeting, preside over this meeting, and really put her money where her mouth is before heading into this very significant G7 leaders meeting here in Tokyo, which is surely going to focus on this conflict in the Middle East. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo, reporting for DD India.
India and Bangladesh inaugurated 3 development projects on Wednesday. The projects aim to improve connectivity and energy security in the region.
Embarking on a journey towards better connectivity, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Bangladeshi counterpart, Sheikh Hasina, virtually inaugurated 3 India-assisted development projects on Wednesday. The projects that were inaugurated are Akoura-Agartala cross-border rail link, Khulna-Mongla port rail line. After the inauguration, Prime Minister Modi said India and Bangladesh have extended collaboration for peace, security and stability along the border.
हमारे संबंध निरंतर नई ऊंचाइयां छू रहे हैं। पिछले 9 वर्षों में हमने मिलकर जितना काम किया है, इतना काम कई दशकों में भी नहीं हुआ था। हमने बॉर्डर पर शांति, सुरक्षा और स्थिरता की बहाली के लिए दशकों से लंबित लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट किया और मैरीटाइम बाउंड्री को भी सुलझाया। दोनों देशों के लोगों की साझा अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं पूरा करने के लिए हमने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और कनेक्टिविटी के विकास पर विशेष बल दिया।
Indian PM further added that bilateral trade between both the countries has grown threefold in the past 9 years.
हमारे कनेक्टिविटी इनिशिएटिव्स ने कोविड महामारी के दौरान लाइफलाइन का काम किया। ऑक्सीजन एक्सप्रेस ने 4000 टन से ज़्यादा लिक्विड मेडिकल ऑक्सीजन भारत से बांग्लादेश पहुंचाई। पिछले 9 सालों में भारत बांग्लादेश सीमा क्षेत्र पर 4 नए इमिग्रेशन चेकपोस्ट खोले गए हैं और पिछले 9 वर्षों में हमारा आपसी व्यापार लगभग 3 गुना हो गया है।
Meanwhile, Bangladesh Prime Minister said the inauguration of these projects manifests the firm friendship and collaboration between the two countries.
I'm extremely happy to join Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi today to inaugurate 3 projects: Akhaura Agartala Rail Link, Khulna Mongla Port Rail Link project, and Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant project. The joint inauguration of these important projects manifests the firm friendship and collaboration between our two friendly countries.
The operationalizations of this international rail link project will reduce the distance between Agartala to Kolkata by around 500 kilometers, and the travel time will be 10 hours. At present, it takes more than 30 hours to reach Kolkata from Agartala. Along with these projects, Unit 2 of Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant was also inaugurated. The operationalization of Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant will enhance energy security in Bangladesh. These projects are aimed at strengthening connectivity and energy security in the region. Kunal Shinde's report for DD India.
And Nawal Singh Parmar now joins us from Dhaka for more on this story. How will the cross-border railway line between Agartala in India and Akhora in Bangladesh benefit the peoples of the two countries?
If you see the distance between Akhora and Agartala, it's just 12.24 kilometer. It means that the link distance is very small, but the importance of this link is very much. As mentioned, Mr. Kunal, that if you travel from Agartala to Kolkata via Siliguri corridor, then it takes 35 hours. And if with the opening of this link, Kolkata to Agartala travel by train via Dhaka will reduce to 10 hours. So, the distance will be around 500 kilometers. So, people-to-people contact between mainland India, northeastern part of India and Bangladesh will be enhanced, as well as the goods train and the cargo connectivity between the Bangladesh and northeastern part of India will also be enhanced. You see, there is a just 200 kilometer distance between Agartala and Chittagong, which is the largest port of Bangladesh. So northeastern region will get benefit of the seaport connectivity with the opening of this link. Northeastern region, particularly the Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland and southern part of Assam will get a direct connectivity to the seaport as well as the Bangladesh market. Bangladesh is a huge market for many agriculture commodity, which is otherwise like pineapple of India coming to Bangladesh from the northeastern region, and the mango from the Bangladesh exported to the northeastern region of India. So the mango pineapple exchange will be very easy between northeastern region of India and Bangladesh. apart from that, people-to-people tie between the two countries will be depend due to this opening of this link.
So we've spoken about the Agartala-Akhora rail link, or as you put it, the mango pineapple trade. And what more can you tell us about the Khulna-Mongla Port railway line and also the thermal power plant, the second unit, which was inaugurated by the two prime ministers?
Yes, the Mongla port is second largest port of Bangladesh after Chittagong. Till now, Mongla port was not connected with the railway network of Bangladesh. So we can understand that without railway connectivity, full utilization of port was not possible.
Right.
But now with the railway connectivity with the rest of the railway network of Bangladesh, Mongla port can reduce burden of Chittagong, and at the same time the southwestern part of Bangladesh and the northern part of Bangladesh, which is far from the Chittagong. So with the connectivity with the Mongla port, the western part of Bangladesh, which is connected with the India, West Bengal, will get economic benefit or economical development will visible here in southwestern Bangladesh as well as the northern part of Bangladesh. At the same time, Mongla port is very crucial for the sub-region also. That include the Bhutan, Nepal, India and Bangladesh. With the opening of connection line, railway line between the Mongla port and the rest of the network, the Bangladesh-Nepal trade will also enhance, and with that, in sub-region, the movement of passenger goods will be very easy, and that will be beneficial for the entire region. And apart with the inauguration of the second unit of Maitre super thermal power plant, the Maitre plant is located at Rampal, which is also in Khulna division in Bangladesh. That power plant installed capacity is 1320 megawatt. That is a huge capacity. And with the inauguration of second unit, the energy security of Bangladesh will be strengthened. At the same time, the grid stability will also increase. And we have a common grid. India, Bangladesh, we have a common grid. So grid stability will also increase. And with the help of the power generation, economic development in Bangladesh and the job creation will get benefit.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Naval Singh Parmar in Dhaka. Thank you once again. Appreciate it. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian Finance Minister begins a 3-day visit to Sri Lanka. And thousands of Afghans living in Pakistan face the threat of detention and deportation as a deadline for them to leave the country ends today.
Into opportunity, transforming ideas into action. Stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is in Colombo on a 3-day visit to Sri Lanka. Minister Sitharaman will address an India-Sri Lanka business summit and call on the Sri Lankan leadership. The minister called on a Sri Lankan Buddhist monk and the current chief prelate of the Asagiriya, Varakagoda Sri Gyanaratna in Sri Lanka's Kandy on Wednesday. Minister Sitharaman discussed the continued tradition of strong historical and cultural ties between India and Sri Lanka. The monk acknowledged the cordial relations between the two countries and expressed gratitude for the support from India during the times of economic hardship in Sri Lanka. The minister also called on Sri Lankan Buddhist monk and the chief prelate of Malawata, Tibbatuvav Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero in Sri Lanka's Kandy on Wednesday. The minister recalled the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visits to Sri Lanka and the strong connect that people of India feel for Sri Lankans. Right, so as you saw there, the Indian Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, is in Sri Lanka as we speak on a 3-day visit, during which she will address a business summit and also call on the Sri Lankan leadership, including the president of that country. All right, Ahmed Moeen Farooqi now joins us from Colombo. Ahmed, what more can you tell us about the minister's engagements in Sri Lanka over the next couple of days?
Ramesh, this has been a very keenly watched visit of the finance minister. Yes, India and Sri Lanka have been going through a fantastic path with regard to the kind of partnership that both the countries have had. The minister is likely to visit several of the cultural and religious locations in Sri Lanka, including Sri Darda Maligava in Kandy. Apart from that, Tirkoneshwaram temple. She's also likely to visit Kandaswamy temple at Nallur near Jaffna. Apart from that, to take the diplomatic ties to the next level, she's likely to have a call on with the Sri Lankan leadership, the president as well as the prime minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, as well as Dr. Dinesh Gunawardena. She's going to have discussions with both of them. However, tomorrow will be the most important part of the visit, wherein we are going to see an event that would mark the 200 years of the arrival of the Indian origin Tamils to Sri Lanka from India, which had happened in 1823. So the event NAM 200, that is We Are at 200, will be celebrated tomorrow at around 4 p.m. at Sugatadasa Indoor Stadium, wherein even the Sri Lankan president would also grace the occasion. That's where Mrs. Sitharaman would be giving a keynote address. Apart from that, we also are aware that there will be a business summit. So all of this, there is going to be a cultural as well as a religious component of it. There is going to be an ethnic kind of component of it. Apart from that, there's also a financial component to it. We also have got to know that there will be a signing of an MOU wherein India will provide assistance to provide solar electrification to the religious sites in Sri Lanka. This will be done at a grant assistance of about 82 crore rupees. So overall, it's going to be a comprehensive kind of a visit as we see, Ramesh.
Also, Mohi, for the benefit of viewers joining us from around the world who are not familiar with the intricacies of the issues at hand here, how would you describe the India-Sri Lanka economic relations as they obtain today?
Ramesh, India and Sri Lanka have been tied together for millennia. I mean, we have seen rulers on both the sides since several centuries. They have had trade ties between each other. People have had trade ties with each other. And you see, that has been one of the most important things that we have seen with regard to the Indian investments being present here in Sri Lanka. However, the Indian and the Sri Lankan sides have had, a very fruitful kind of an engagement over the last 1.5 years. As Sri Lanka went through an economic crisis, India came to the rescue and provided an unprecedented humanitarian assistance of about $4 billion worth of lines of credit as well as grants. And this, helped Sri Lanka in staying afloat till the IMF and various other multilaterals could come in. So the ties have been pretty good. India has also been the voice for Global South, as we had seen through the entire year when India had the presidency of G20. So India has been taking very keen interest to supporting the neighborhood, and that's how we see it, Ramesh.
All right, Ahmed Moeen Farooqi reporting there live from Colombo. Thank you, appreciate it. Moving on, hundreds of thousands of Afghans living in Pakistan face the threat of detention and deportation on Wednesday as a government deadline for them to leave sparked a mass exodus. Take a look.
We are helpless. We have nothing in our homeland. No home, nowhere to go.
He is not the only one. Thousands of Afghans have massed on Pakistan's Jammun border crossing. They all are fearing for their life and are worried about their future as they have nowhere to go. November 1 is the deadline for undocumented Afghans to leave the country.
What is happening? The Pakistan government has evicted us from Karachi and now we have nowhere to go.
Hundreds of trucks piled high with Afghan families, their luggage lined up on the Pakistan side of the border. They have absolutely no idea where to go.
I was arrested by the police a day ago and released on payment of rupees 6,000. They are arresting people and releasing them on payment of money. The situation is very bad.
6 months are so cold that the God knows where these kids will bear it. Our house there is also broken. We don't have any rooms where we can live, and living in a tent in winter will be very difficult.
Human rights groups have urged Pakistan not to force out Afghan refugees who fled after the Taliban took over in August 2021. But all has fallen on deaf ears. Nearly 2 million Afghan nationals have been forced to flee Pakistan after Islamabad announced that it will deport all undocumented migrants after the November 1 deadline. The decision comes after months of deadly attacks that officials say included Afghan nationals. Akriti Bhandari for DD India.
Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey on Wednesday visited the Siachen base camp and the forward posts and reviewed the operational preparedness there. The Army Chief also paid an obeisance at the War Memorial to mark the sacrifice by the 1,186 Indian soldiers in Siachen so far. DD India's Akshay Dongre gives us more from the world's highest militarized zone.
Where we are standing right now is called the highest battlefield in the entire world. We are at the Siachen Glacier. And behind me what is happening is the training for this very, very difficult terrain, very, very difficult battlefield and the adverse weather conditions that Siachen usually sees throughout the year. Right now, what you are seeing is the soldiers of the Indian Army trying and training in the climbing of the ice sheets, ice walls that are everywhere up as we go towards the higher parts of the Siachen Glacier. This is the snout of it. This is the end of it. However, once we start going up, very, very difficult terrain starts emerging. There are crevasses, which means the gaps in the mountains, they are there. There are avalanches. The temperatures in winter can dip to up to minus 60 degrees Celsius. And that is the situation where the Indian Army is deployed throughout the year. As you see, the soldiers here get trained in all aspects of the mountainous warfare. They get trained in rock climbing, they get trained in climbing of the ice sheet, they get trained in rescuing people from crevasses. And it's not just this part of the training, the Siachen Battle School, which trains the soldiers. There are several divisions over this entire terrain. They're getting trained into tying proper knots, they are getting trained in tying proper ropes, how to rescue people if there is an avalanche, how to rescue the fellow soldiers, how to provide first aid, how to provide basic medical attention till the time the soldiers are rescued in an adverse weather conditions. As far as the serving at this highest battlefield is concerned, about 1,186 soldiers have laid down their lives just at the Siachen Glacier ever since the Operation Meghdoot started. And this is the training that goes on round the clock every year, 365 days, 24/7, as the protection of the Siachen Glacier goes on as well. With camera person Rahul Chopra, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
The 15th India-Singapore Defence Policy Dialogue was held in New Delhi on Wednesday. The dialogue was co-chaired by Indian Defence Secretary Giridhar Aramane and Singapore's Permanent Secretary of Defence, Chan Heng Ki. During the meeting, both sides reviewed the existing defense cooperation between the two countries and agreed to enhance collaboration in service-to-service interactions and bilateral exercises. They also articulated steps to take forward cooperation in emerging areas such as cybersecurity. In a testament to India's rich cultural heritage, the Indian cities of Kozhikode and Gwalior have been welcomed into the prestigious UNESCO Creative Cities Network. The inclusion of Kozhikode and Gwalior by UNESCO underscores the vibrancy of India's cultural contributions on the world stage. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to social media to express his joy over this remarkable achievement, highlighting the significance of these two cities in the country's cultural tapestry. He congratulated the people of Kozhikode and Gwalior and reaffirmed the nation's commitment to preserve and promote its diverse cultural traditions. And still to come on DD India News Hour. London hosts the world's first global artificial intelligence safety summit. And Thailand to introduce visa-free entry for Indian nationals from 10th November to 10th May.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action. Stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. First batch of injured Palestinians and foreign nationals leaving Gaza after Qatar brokers a deal between Israel, Egypt and the Hamas. Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh inaugurate a cross-border railway line. And India, 27 other countries join a two-day global summit on artificial intelligence in London. Now, the first ever global summit on AI safety has kicked off in London. The two-day summit aims to be a global platform for debating the risks that artificial intelligence poses and how they can be countered. The countries attending the summit have also announced the Bletchley Park Declaration that recognizes the possible security concerns related to AI. Prominent people from in the AI industry and from all around the world, such as Elon Musk and ChatGPT CEO Sam Altman, among many others, are taking part in this summit. And Julia Chapman joins us for more on this developing story. Julia, why don't you give our viewers a sense of who all are taking part in the summit and what does London hope to achieve by hosting it?
Well, there are a number of government leaders here, including the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, both of whom will be taking part in tomorrow's proceedings. Today brings together ministers from a number of countries, including India, as well as a number of leaders from the AI industry, people from OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Meta, all taking part, as well as the people you mentioned, including Elon Musk, who is here as well. He'll be holding a Q&A with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Thursday. But yes, there has been a declaration published that has been signed by 28 countries recognizing the potential for catastrophic harm posed by artificial intelligence, expressing an intent to work together collaboratively on mitigating the risks posed by AI. And of course, those include threats to humanity with concerns that AI could become sentient, and also that it could be used by malevolent actors like hackers and terrorists. So certainly lots of discussions about the risks, but there's also been a recognition of the benefits as well. There's been a lot of talk about ensuring that any kind of regulation does not impinge on innovation, and that has been a big emphasis of the Indian Minister for Technology and IT, who was speaking at the plenary session earlier today, saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has really emphasized a collaborative effort needs to be made and that this technology needs to be used for good.
Julia, I want to ask you a bit more, if you will, on the Bletchley Declaration per se. What does the text of that document say? Is it calling for global collaboration as compared to national regulation in order to reduce the risks of this fast-growing technology?
It certainly is. There's a recognition among participants here that artificial intelligence doesn't recognize international borders, and therefore this is something that needs to involve all players from across the globe, including China, which is one of the global leaders on artificial intelligence. There is a representative from China here, and China was one of the signatories of the Bletchley Declaration. It also recognized that there should be a network for scientific research that transcends borders as well. Researchers across the globe working together to better understand how artificial intelligence is going to change the future, that will be involved in all angles of our lives. It already is in many of them, but of course there are many unknowns still, and the emphasis today, and we're expecting tomorrow as well, is really on how countries can come together to mitigate those risks. Some individual countries, of course, looking at regulation, at some powers for their own governments. There isn't any kind of international framework yet, but there's expected to be discussion over the next couple of days about a potential intergovernmental panel similar to what exists already for climate change, in order to provide advice for countries around the world about how best to understand the risks of AI and mitigate them going forward.
Julia, thank you. Appreciate it. Right, moving on, in some more news here on DD India News Up, Washington, D.C. says it's working through important details to finalize a meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, Forum in the U.S. city of San Francisco later this month. It'll be the first time they've met in person for a year. Andrew Wood in Hong Kong explains what might be on the agenda.
The most promising area, perhaps, for Mr. Xi and Mr. Biden to come up with some form of agreement, a positive sign of cooperation, is probably on climate change. A week or two ago, President Xi Jinping said that agreement on climate change, or cooperation on climate change, was the one possible bright spot in Beijing's troubled relations with Washington. After that, though, America and China disagree on just so many things. Take, for example, the South China Sea. China says that it owns most of the South China Sea, going from north to south, right the way down to Indonesia and Malaysia, almost on the equator, and the territorial waters of Vietnam and the Philippines, and so on. Of course, America doesn't recognize this claim, nor do international courts, and nor do the countries whose territorial waters China claims. There's the particular issue of the Philippines. Confrontations between China's Coast Guard and the Philippines Coast Guard over disputed shoals in the South China Sea, or the part of it that the Philippines calls the West Philippine Sea. They've been getting worse over the past few months, and there is, I think, a real danger that they could turn nasty, that an accidental confrontation could result in shots being fired rather than fire hoses or buoys and barriers being put in each other's ships' way. Then, of course, there's Taiwan. Taiwan is a democratically ruled, self-ruled island that is quite happy to be separate from the mainland of China. Beijing says that Taiwan is part of Chinese territory and it reserves the right to use force if necessary to unite Taiwan with the mainland. And even earlier this week, the Chinese military was warning of dire consequences for any country that sided with Taiwan in a bid for independence. And I think that was definitely a dig at America. Then there's the Middle East. China has tried, or seems to be trying, to play a part in trying to solve the issue of Israel and Gaza, talking to both sides and trying to use its links with Saudi Arabia and Iran and so on to come up with some form of solution. But it hasn't really made much impact. America may seem to be on the side, probably more on the side of Israel, and China seems more on the side of Hamas and the Palestinians. So I don't think there's much for them to agree on there. And then, of course, there's the war in Ukraine. China and Russia, you may remember, just before the invasion of Ukraine, President Xi and President Biden declared that their country's friendship had no limits. And so far, China has declined to condemn Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. In fact, the two countries seem to have grown together closer militarily, politically, and economically. In Hong Kong, I'm Andrew Wood, reporting for DD India.
And staying in the Indo-Pacific, Thailand has announced a temporary removal of visa requirements for travelers from India and Taiwan. Travelers from India and Taiwan will enjoy visa-free entry into Thailand from 10th November to 10th May. Thailand aims to boost its tourism. As air quality plummets and environmental concerns worsen around the world, take a look at the climatic horrors persisting in various countries at the moment.
India is gasping for breath. It's becoming all the more difficult with every passing day, waking up to the skies filled with smog, eyes watering and frequent coughing. People of New Delhi are facing the worst of climatic horrors today. The air quality in Delhi is in the very poor category since last 1 week now. The air in the capital and surrounding areas gets filthy every winter as low temperatures and wind speeds trap emissions from vehicles, burning of farm wastes and industries. Residents of India's financial capital, Mumbai, is not spared either, as a layer of smog continued to vitiate the air on Tuesday. Many complained of severe breathing issues and requested the government to take immediate actions. The air quality in Mumbai, as per the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research, was at 120. Anything above 60 is considered unhealthy. The weather is being nasty, not just in India but globally. Heavy smog enveloped the Chinese capital Beijing on Wednesday, a day after authorities issued their highest warnings for fog and haze in major northern cities and warned the public that visibility could drop to less than 50 meters. Nepal's snow-capped mountains have lost close to 1/3 of their ice in over 30 years due to global warming. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited Kathmandu on 29 October and said glaciers in the country were melting at record rates and the situation was dire and accelerating. Bolivian firefighters and volunteers have continued to battle the raging fires on Tuesday in the forest close to Madidi National Park, a protected area in northwestern Bolivia that includes part of the Bolivian Amazon. In America, a Southern California wildfire fueled by desert winds burned 2,200 acres of land and prompted evacuation orders for 4,000 people in Riverside County. In Australia, bushfires blazed across northern New South Wales while the country continues to battle blazes in Queensland that have killed at least 2 people and destroyed dozens of homes as of Wednesday. Meanwhile, Mexican experts have warned of a possible intensification of hurricanes due to global warming after the disastrous impact of Hurricane Otis that has left people in a 360-degree chaos.
The Indian government's e-marketplace's CEO on Wednesday held a press conference in New Delhi detailing the expansion of services that this platform has undertaken. He also spoke about onboarding specialized services through this platform. He also showcased the growth in the service sector. DD India's Divyendra Mondal spoke to the CEO to get more insights. Take a listen.
Joined by the CEO of GM. Welcome to Doordarshan, sir. So what are the services that you will be offering through and you have been offering, and what has been the addition in the last couple of years, and how has the response been?
Services came in 2 years after inception of GEM. So in 1920, we did a modest service procurement, primarily for manpower hiring and vehicle hiring, the traditional ones. But then in the last 4 years, the growth has been phenomenal. And today I can very proudly say that any service required by the government is today available on GEM. Be it a specialized service, be it a very technical service, be it a financial service, it is all available on GEM. If we talk of figures, in the first year when services were introduced, we did procurement of about 3,000 crore, which was just about 13% of our total procurement. In the current year, we will touch about 1,50,000 crore of service procurement alone, which will be around 50% of our total procurement. So the journey has been phenomenal. Going forward, again, we'll see whether we can delve into niche areas also and provide services for the government.
What are the challenges that you have faced so far with respect to, there are traditional methods of procurement, especially by the state governments. How are you overcoming that?
Initially, the challenge is only regarding the mindset, because everybody is scared of a new system. I mean, when the mobile phone came, people could not use it properly. But today it has become a part of our life. So it is how comfortable you get with the system. So one is that mindset, overcoming the mindset, and the second is demonstrating the advantages. So when we go to a state, we tell them that, look, these are the procurements done by you in the last 2 years, and this is the procurement done by a similar government, maybe a neighboring state, on GEM. And you see the advantage. You see that our contracts don't fail, our contracts are not rejected, our rates are better. Those advantages, once you show them, then people automatically come on board.
Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to Doordarshan. This is Divyendra Mondal with camera person Sharda from New Delhi for DD India.
In some more news, Serbia's President Alexander Vučić has dissolved the country's parliament and called for an early election on 17th of December, aiming to cement his authority as he works out how to normalize ties with Kosovo, the main precondition for EU membership. Opposition parties and rights groups accuse Vučić and his allies of autocracy, oppressing media freedoms and election fraud. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian Education Minister visits the United Arab Emirates. And Indian Prime Minister meets the Indian athletes who took part in the Asian Para Games. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan is on a 3-day visit to the United Arab Emirates. The focus of his visit is bolstering educational partnerships and fostering collaborative efforts between two countries. Minister Pradhan visited 42 Abu Dhabi, a groundbreaking coding school recognized as the first of its kind in the Gulf Cooperation Council, or the GCC. Now, 42 Abu Dhabi has revolutionized conventional educational models by adopting an innovative approach to preparing students for the future workforce in the country. Later, India's Minister Dharmendra Pradhan also interacted with students at the Abu Dhabi Indian School and faculty at India House. The session was enriched by insightful discussions on education, innovation, and the potential for closer collaboration in the academic sphere between India and the UAE. Minister Pradhan said that the UAE-India relations are in a very good space and that all efforts are being made to strengthen it, especially in education and skill sectors.
यूएई भारत की संबंध आज बहुत ही अच्छे स्तर पे हैं। स्ट्रैटेजिक पार्टनरशिप हमारी कई इलाका में, कई सेक्टर में हमारे काम हो रहा है। उसमें से एजुकेशन एंड स्किल यूएई की अर्थनैतिक विकास में भारत की एक गहरा संबंध है। हम यूएई में आईआईटी खोल रहे हैं। यूएई में कई सारे भारत की प्रोमिनेंट यूनिवर्सिटी भी आ चुके हैं। आने वाले दिनों में और भी कुछ यूनिवर्सिटी आ सकते हैं। सीबीएसई जो भारत की एक प्रमुख एजुकेशन बोर्ड है, नेशनल बोर्ड है, उसकी भी 100 से ज़्यादा स्कूल यूएई में ही चल रहा है। सीबीएसई की एक ऑफिस भी यूएई में खोले, यह हमारी मिशन की बहुत दिनों से अपेक्षा था।
Speaking at a business summit, India's central bank governor Shaktikanta Das said that India's growth momentum in terms of economy continues to be strong. He said that the GDP number for the second quarter will surprise everyone on the upside. Mentioning the risks attributed to the growth, Das said that geopolitical uncertainty is the biggest risk to global growth, but India is better placed to deal with any potentially risky situation. Pointing out the career outlook of youngsters today, he said that it has changed with regard to job switching and added that the youth is thinking differently on this aspect now. Shaktikanta Das said that the Indian Central Bank is looking at the issue as part of the regulatory supervision efforts. India can add some more countries to its crude oil import strategy for its energy security. According to reports, India may consider importing crude oil from the Venezuelan market at concessional rates. There is a decrease in oil imported from Russia in the month of October, and there is volatility in the crude oil market. And now to all the news from the world of sport. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted and addressed India's Asian Para Games contingent at the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium in New Delhi on Wednesday. Addressing the para athletes, the Prime Minister of the country congratulated the players. He said that their achievements underscore their dedication and extraordinary skills and that they've made the whole country proud. The athletes, coaches, officials from the Paralympic Committee of India, the Indian Olympic Association and the representatives from national sports federations also took part in the program. The event was an endeavor by Prime Minister Modi to congratulate the athletes for their outstanding achievement at the Asian Para Games. India won a total of 111 medals, including 29 gold medals this year. India will square off with Sri Lanka in the ICC World Cup match on Thursday in Mumbai. A win will ensure that India leaps into the knockout phase. India has remained undefeated in the tournament so far, winning all its 6 matches. On the other hand, Sri Lanka has lost 4 of their 6 matches. Now, their chance of making it to the semi-final remains bleak. India and Sri Lanka have clashed with each other 9 times in the ICC Cricket World Cup. Each team has won 4 matches, while 1 game yielded no result.
Get ready for an epic showdown as 2 cricketing giants, India and Sri Lanka, lock horns at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. This historic venue holds special memories for Indian cricket fans, especially that unforgettable evening on April 2nd, 2011, when India secured their 2nd ICC Men's ODI World Cup title. And now in 2023, these two teams are set to face each other once again in a round-robin match of cricket's biggest event. But the teams enter this contest with vastly different forms. Sri Lanka, the winners of the 1996 edition, have had a challenging journey in this tournament. With just 2 wins and 4 losses in their bag, their most recent defeat was at the hands of the rising Afghanistan team.
On paper and considering their current form, it seems that Kusal Mendes and his men might be in for a tough battle when they go up against the unbeaten Team India on Thursday. This marks the first encounter between these Asian cricketing giants since India's dominant 10-wicket victory in the Asia Cup Summit clash. In the ODI World Cup, they have crossed paths 9 times and their record stands at a fairly even 4 wins each, with 1 match ending without a result.
Meanwhile, Team India is riding a wave of success. They are on a 6-match winning streak in this World Cup and have displayed exceptional performance in both batting and bowling departments. With just 3 group stage games left and the need to leapfrog 3 other teams to secure a place in the top 4, it seems unlikely that the Sri Lankans will advance to the knockout stages. But in this game of uncertainties, players like Sadira and Dilshan Madhushanka are having excellent campaigns and might aim to hand the world #1 side their first defeat in the competition.
Men in Blue are determined to continue their winning streak and are just 1 win away from securing their place in the Final 4. So come Thursday, get ready for this thrilling encounter at the Wankhede Stadium as these two cricketing giants battle it out on the same hallowed ground where history was made in 2011. Will India keep their winning juggernaut going, or will Sri Lanka pull off a miracle? It's a clash you don't want to miss. With camera person Bhim, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Wankhede Stadium, Mumbai.
So you sure don't want to miss that crucial match. Now, in some more sports news, India clinched a narrow 2-1 win over Japan to register their 4th straight win and storm into the semi-finals of the Women's Asian Champions Trophy hockey tournament in Ranchi on Wednesday. The team had earlier defeated Thailand, Malaysia and China. India will take on South Korea in their final league game on Thursday. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website, ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.